because anybody who knows anything about investing understands that you get the most benefit through that compound interest. One could invest $500 per month, and in 30 years, they would have about $1 million. Most of that money comes from the compound interest, not from the initial capital of you putting money in. So we're starting to understand the basics of what an ETF is, but before we go any further, we need to understand where you can actually invest these ETFs within. There's 3 basic types of accounts that you're going to be able to invest in ETFs. We have a brokerage account or a taxable account. Then we have 2 different types of retirement accounts. There's a traditional retirement account and then also the Roth version of a retirement account. In all of these types of accounts, you're able to buy and sell ETFs. But there's different reasons to be holding ETFs, specific types of ETFs, within different ones, and usually they have to do with taxes, which we'll go over later on. But for now, we need to understand those 3 types so that later on when you're figuring out where to put which type of ETF, you'll know which ones do what. So the first one is the taxable brokerage account. This is like your basic account that has nothing to do with retirement, and it's just one where you can buy and sell daily if you want to. Hopefully, if you're investing in ETFs, you're investing with a long-term mindset, but you technically could buy an ETF today. Say you want to buy VU or QQQ today, it goes up $3, and tomorrow you sell it and you make that $3 profit. You could do that. The pro of a taxable account is that you're able to sell that, make the profit, take the profit out, and now you have that profit that day, and there's no penalty for taking your money out. The con with a taxable brokerage account is in the name. The idea that it is taxable, the capital gains that you make, so that little profit in between, so like we said in the example, if you made that $3, you'd be taxed on that $3 when you make the sale. The really good thing about the taxable brokerage account is that you can access your money at any time if you absolutely needed to. And this is good for those of you that have short-term or medium-term goals where you're not trying to wait all the way till 59.5 to actually access your money, because in the retirement accounts that we're going to talk about in a second, you can't touch that money until 59.5 without a penalty. So then moving on to the traditional retirement account. This could be either your 401k, but probably more likely going to be some type of an IRA, a traditional IRA. At its very core, it's a retirement account, which means you put money in, it's supposed to grow until you hit 59.5 or later. If you try to take any money out of it before 59.5, you're allowed to, but you're gonna have to pay a pretty hefty fee, and so it's not worth doing it that way. If your goal is to take money out before that age, it's just gonna be best for you to stick with the taxable brokerage account. But anyway, the traditional IRA or traditional 401k, the idea is if you put money into that, you get to take that away from your taxable income. Let's say you make $80,000 in the year, but you put $5,000 of that into a traditional IRA. On your taxes, what it's going to look like is that you're only going to have made $75,000 that year, so you're only taxed on $75,000. That extra $5,000 goes into that account. It gets to grow and compound interest until retirement age, and then later at retirement age, 59.5 or older, when you pull the money out, when you sell the ETFs to make the money, that's when you get taxed. So it delays that tax till retirement time and until you actually pull the money out. So it's very, very favorable, especially for those of you that are in a higher income bracket, because you get taxed more the higher your income is. So a lot of wealthy people will do this to offset their income a little bit, put some money away and delay the taxes for later. Then there's the Roth version of the IRA, or even nowadays Roth 401ks. But first, I want to thank and introduce the sponsor of this video, Delete Me. Did you know that your personal data is being sold online by data brokers? You have the right to stay private and protect your personal data. Delete Me is a hands-free subscription service that will remove your personal information that's being sold online. Right now, it's becoming all too common of this trend of data breaches resulting in the loss of personal data control. 1/3 of the US population's background info is now public. Delete Me's privacy experts remove your personal information such as phone number, address, and other important information from hundreds of data brokers all year long. I really enjoy that customers can make custom removal requests. We all do a lot online financially, especially with investing, so it's just a smart move to have an extra layer of protection. Get 20% off Delete Me US consumer plans when you go down to the link in my description, which is joindeleteme.com/professor, and use code PROFESSOR at checkout. So like I was saying, then there's the Roth version of the IRA, or even nowadays Roth 401ks. Roth is the exact opposite. When you put the money into the Roth, it's being taxed right now. So in that same example, if you made $80,000 and you put $5,000 into this Roth account, when you do your taxes, you're going to be taxed on $80,000, even though you have no access to this $5,000 because it's in this retirement account. So you're taxed up front, but then it gets to grow and compound interest and just get huge. And then at retirement age, when you go to pull it out, you're not taxed at all. And this is huge because anybody who knows anything about investing understands that you get the most benefit through that compound interest. Like specifically somebody investing in something like the S&P 500 or the total US stock market with an average yearly appreciation of over 10%, one could invest $500 per month, and in 30 years, they would have about $1 million. And as you can see here on the chart, most of that money comes from the compound interest, not from the initial capital of you putting money in. So if you're making most of your money during that time on compound interest and you don't get taxed at all on any of that, that is crazy, and that is a huge, huge benefit. So that's why the Roth IRA or the Roth versions are so favorable for people, especially with a longer time horizon. If you have 10 years or more, until retirement age, it might be a good idea for you to look into starting some type of Roth account. In my opinion, I think taxes are going to be much worse 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, just because if you look at the history of most other countries that have been around a lot longer than we have, the taxation gets worse as we go. And if you look at all the debt that we have in the United States and from this past couple of years with the COVID pandemic and other things, we have a huge debt to pay off, and one of the only ways to do that is going to be through taxation. And so they're going to up the taxes, in my opinion. It's going to be little by little, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I think it'll be a substantial amount different than it is today. And so if we have a retirement account that makes it so that you don't get taxed at all, zero taxes whatsoever when you pull that money out, that's really the only way to protect yourself from those taxes down the road. Like I said though, there are pros and cons to each one, right? The brokerage account, you don't really get any tax sheltered in any way, but you do get liquidity. You do get to be able to use your money right away, pull it out whenever you'd like. It's almost like an emergency savings account. With the traditional IRA or traditional 401k, you get a benefit right now. You get taxed much less, but later on you'll pay those taxes, but that's way down the road. And then for the Roth version, you're taxed up front. You don't get to use that money up front. It's put into the retirement account. But then down the road, you can really, really gain when other people are having to pay taxes and you don't have to pay any. So remember those three categories for later on when you start figuring out which ETFs you like the best, because there's going to be better places to put certain ETFs within each one of those three.